So, Chris, tell us how you make your amazing Hepple Gin.
Thanks, Andrew. Well, we use this triple process, three different pieces of equipment to get more flavour out of our botanicals, more flavour into the gin to make a much better martini, cocktails, gin and tonics. But the first process is this copper pot still, handmade in Germany by the Muller family. We add an English wheat spirit, so East Anglian wheat distilled to 96% alcohol by volume. We add that to the still. We add our Hepple water to take it from 96% down to 60%. Then we add our botanical mix. So juniper, coriander, licorice root, orris root, angelica root, fennel seeds, blackcurrant leaves, bog myrtle, Douglas fir needles. They'll all rest in that alcohol for about 15 hours. So finish at 5 o'clock, come in the next day at 9 o'clock, and then I'll freshly peel some lemons, add the lemon peel, close the door, turn on the steam boiler. Distillation works because alcohol, ethanol, boils at 78 degrees, water boils at 100 degrees. So we heat it to 78 degrees. That ethanol, that alcohol, now full of those wonderful gin botanical flavourings, will rise up. It'll turn from a liquid to a vapour. It'll rise up, it'll hit the copper. It'll condense back down. It'll get heated back up. And gradually, this whole copper system will get heated to 78 degrees. It'll rise through and it'll hit the column. So we've got a column here, more copper contact. It's better for the spirit. It'll hit the top of the column here. We've got a water bath. That'll send some of the vapor back down to do that journey again. It'll allow some of the vapors to escape to our condenser. So we've got a copper coil of cold flowing water. That'll condense the vapor back to a liquid and it'll come out this little spout here. Now the first part of alcohol that comes out is very astringent, bitter in flavor. We don't want that in our gin. So we taste it, and once we get these sort of citrusy, piney notes, we know that we've left what we call the heads and we've moved to the heart. We collect 2 barrels of heart cup. It takes about 5 hours. After those 5 hours, we start getting these vegetal flavors, earthy flavors that we don't want in the gin. So again, we switch from the heart cup to the tails, and it's only that heart cup that we take forward and we add more flavor from the 2 other processes. So it's where everybody else stops is where we really start to get going.
Amazing. And that's what gives us what we think is one of the world's great gins and something that works beautifully in this martini as well. And it's the beginning of the process. So we've seen how you make the base gin. What's the second step?
So the second step is this rotary evaporator or vacuum still. Set up pretty similar to the copper pot still, where you've got your pot, your alcohol, your botanical, you've got your copper column, your condenser, and a little collection vessel. But here we can actually take the air out of the system. So instead of distilling at 1,000 millibars of pressure, atmospheric conditions, we go down to 150 millibars of pressure, which is actually the equivalent of going to 55,000 feet, so 20,000 feet above Everest. Now at that sort of height, the pressure keeping the molecules together is far less. So it's much easier, or it requires less energy to separate the molecules. So it requires less energy to break them apart, less energy to turn that liquid to a vapor. So effectively, we're lowering the boiling point of ethanol. So we go from 78 degrees to 40 degrees, which is much better for conserving flavor. We're not destroying flavor. So this machine captures those lighter, fresher flavors, and really this machine captures freshness. So we individually distill 6 botanicals in this machine, 5 of which we harvest from Hepple. Right now we've got some bog myrtle in there, but we've got green juniper, Douglas fir, lovage, and blackcurrant leaf. So we really capture the sort of the terroir of Hepple using this machine.
Amazing. So this is a lot of the local ingredients, things you're going to get from the estate, brought in here and bring that freshness and lightness of touch.
Exactly. So as soon as the ingredient's ready, I'm out there harvesting it, distilling it, and we'll build up a year's worth of supply of that botanical.
Yeah. I think for us, it's something that makes Hepple really special. You have this kind of very local ingredients brought into this amazing gin with history from the first distillation, and then this kind of slightly more technical, modern, scientific approach.
Exactly. When you're having a sort of a Hepple drink, we want you to be transported to the wild moorlands, and this machine captures that freshness and it allows you to do that.
So the third step of the process to make Hepple.
Yes, so this is our supercritical extraction column, and this allows us to capture the full spectrum of juniper, so flavors that we're not getting from distillation. This is the column itself, so 170 kilos. Take the lid off, we grind up the juniper, we put the juniper into the column, we close the lid, we close the valves off, and then we start pumping in liquid carbon dioxide. And we pump until we get to 3,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. So it's the equivalent of going 7,000 feet below sea level. So as we're taking the juniper down to that depth, we're also gently heating it, and we heat it to 40 degrees. So at 40 degrees and 3000 psi, that liquid CO2 turns into a supercritical fluid. Now, a supercritical fluid acts like a liquid and a gas at exactly the same time. So it can permeate space like a gas and extract flavor like a liquid. So once we've hit that, just open this valve a small fraction. That supercritical fluid wants to go from high pressure to low pressure. It moves through that bed of ground up juniper and it acts as a solvent. So the juniper oil dissolves into that supercritical fluid. It's taken through this little network of pipes and is deposited in one of these little vials. And in a true Blue Peter moment, here's one I made earlier.
Wonderful.
Now, if you just have a little smell of that,
Amazing. I mean,
depth of flavor, right? We're thinking needles, berry, bark. It's that full juniper bush in a little tiny amount of liquid. And as I said, it's flavors that you can't get from distillation alone. And this gives the gin a real depth of flavor. And in your martini, it just gives the martini a real longevity and that lovely juniper note and a bit of mouthfeel.
so this is super concentrated. So how much of this, or how much gin does this make? How much does a vial make?
So I'm not going to give away too many secrets, but that goes a long way, because what we don't want is we want you to have juniper at the forefront of the gin, but we don't want you to be punched in the face with it. So a little of that goes a long way. So that, for example, if you took a little droplet of that, put that on your tongue, all you're going to taste is juniper for the rest of the day.
And does anybody else do this? Are there any other distilleries that do this?
I think there's maybe one in the perfume region of France, but there's no one using this combination of equipment and having access to the botanical Eden that we've got, this sort of 4,000 acre estate just inside the Northumberland National Park.
Amazing. Well, it smells amazing, and it makes a truly fantastic gin, and in turn a martini. So we're in South London with Rob from the amazing Asterley Brothers, makers of what we think is the best English vermouth, and is in our lovely martini. Rob, how did you start the business?
Well, back in 2009, I married into a Sicilian family. My brother and I have been bartenders for a long, long time, and I inherited my wife's grandfather's recipe for a really classic Sicilian Amaro.
Amazing.
And we made this Amaro for a number of years, and then in 2014, we decided to make an English version of this Amaro and started to try and figure out how we could kind of get London's terroir into a Sicilian heritage product.
Amazing. So how do you make it? How do you actually make the vermouth itself?
So for this particular product, our Schofield's Dry Vermouth, we take an English wine blend of Bacchus, Chardonnay and Saval Blanc. We take some organic grain neutral spirit. At 40% ABV, we infuse it with 11 different botanicals, loads of white flowers, elderflower, jasmine, chamomile, rose, lavender, lemon, nutmeg, vanilla, touch of wormwood as well. Let that steep for about 7 days. Infuse it then with the wine, sweeten it with a little bit of cane sugar, filter, bottle. Very simple.
Amazing. And we're in their brand new production facility here in South London. They've just moved, growing and making amazing new things. And yeah, we're excited to have it in our martini.